Good evening, gentlemen. Lawrence of Asia coming at you once again here from Seoul, South Korea. This evening, just had this comment from a viewer, Biggs TV 15, and it was in reference to another video I had made previously about setting boundaries with women. And I had this insight, gentlemen, I wanted to share with you and give my perspective on this. Essentially this, gentlemen. You know, back in the day, 30, 40, 50, 60 years ago and so on, it would have been the cultures and the society's not responsibility, but it would have been their, it would have been on them, or it was naturally that the woman was naturally influenced by culture and her family as to what it meant to be a respectable woman, a woman that was worthy of being in a relationship, or a woman that was worthy of being a wife or mother, and how that woman would dress and conduct and behave herself. Now, I feel I have a good girl overall in so many various ways, but gentlemen, I'm sure you can relate to this. So many of you will be able to relate to this, that in today's modern world, women have one idea, one set of standards as to how they should conduct themselves and how they should even dress per se. And we can stick to the subject of dressing, right? Because the way that modern girls dress these days would have been completely unacceptable 40, 50 years ago, and so on throughout time, right? It's only recently that we have all become familiar, or all become accustomed to women dressing in more and more and more of a provocative way, and that becoming more of a standard and more normalized, right? Now, for me, myself, right, when, you know, and think about this, gentlemen, when you first meet a girl you're interested in, yeah, she can be dressed somewhat promiscuous, this, that, or the other. Now, it doesn't mean that you would not be interested in the girl if she wasn't dressed promiscuously. You might even be more interested in her, right? But a good number of girls dress quite promiscuously these days, okay? So you meet the girl, you like her, you think, okay, I want to have a relationship with this girl. You start messing around, and before you know it, you're in a relationship. But then as time goes on, you realize you're not really okay with her choice of clothing, right? And as I said, back in the day, it would have been culture, society, and her family to educate her and basically have her ready and have her accustomed to basically living up to that standard that a man would have for her, right? Nowadays, there is no standard, right? Mainstream culture teaches women there should be no standard whatsoever for the way that they dress, and that everything is okay. And yes, everything is okay, right? But as a man, we have standards. And the difficulty comes in here is that, you know, because the majority of women are always dressing this provocative way as it is anyway. Guys, the lighting will tune up here in a bit when I step over here. But, you know, what happens is that the buck gets passed to us as men, and we become the ones responsible for basically educating our women as to how they ought to conduct themselves and or dress, right? And that would not have been your responsibility in the past, gentlemen. In the past, for most men, that would have been an automatic, right? That would have been a standard that would have been in place, right? But due to feminism and the the modern culture that we find ourselves in, that is a point of contention amongst men and women. Now, most men will just not say anything about any of this. However, because I sense it within myself, and I imagine millions of men must be going through the same thing, right, in the Western world. that is this, gentlemen. Millions of men are most likely suffering consciously or subconsciously, or maybe they're not even aware of it, because their woman is not really showing respect to the family, to you as the man, by the way that she's dressing and or conducting herself. But we'll just stick to the subject of dress, and how one dresses. So it does come back on you as the man to educate your woman, right? Now, a lot of men would say, no, you just let them wear whatever they want. You can't control a person. And yes, you cannot control a person, sure. However, if you're not okay with it, gentlemen, it's my understanding and my strong opinion too, that it would be your responsibility and it would be advantageous for you to be honest about how you feel. Now, let me give you, gentlemen, some recommendations as to how to go about that. Start off with a compliment. Start off with a compliment and say, sweetheart, you are absolutely lovely. You're absolutely beautiful. You're such a beautiful girl. But I don't really like the fact that when you go out, you're dressed, say in these yoga pants or whatnot. And the thing is because, they're quite sexy and you look amazing, but I don't want you to look sexy for everyone. I'd really like you to look sexy for me. Now, if she respects you, then she's going to be mindful and she's going to cut that out. She's going to buy some yoga pants that are not tight fitting, that are a completely different fit or whatever. Now, she might put up some contention in the beginning, right? But if she truly respects you, she's going to get the drift and she will fall in line. And then moving forward, you're not going to be plagued with that stress on a daily basis where you're continuously stressed out because things are not in order, not to your liking, right? Because if you're in a relationship, in a serious committed relationship, or even a family, you are going to be living, with this person, with this woman for a very long time. Everything should be in order and to your liking, gentlemen. So the buck does fall on you and you will have to communicate this. Now, something I realize is that, this wasn't really an issue for me so much when my girl, when we didn't have a family, right? When it was when we were still courting, we were still in the dating phase. It was still early on in the relationship, first 6 months, first year, and it was such a on-off relationship that, even for the first couple of years, that didn't bother me so much. I mean, she was just basically keeping her attraction at a high. I'll show you guys this guy roller skating. It's pretty amazing. Anyway, I'll circle back around and show you guys that again if he goes through again. But the thing is, gentlemen, when you have a family and you're building something honorable, and you want to build something honorable for your children, you want everything to be in order. So just wanted to make that point, that clarification that, setting boundaries with your woman is I believe, and it's my personal opinion, is absolutely what you should do. Now, do it in a loving but firm way, right? Do it in your way. Do it in a loving. Let her know she's appreciated. Let her know you find her to be lovely, etc., etc. But here we go. That's pretty cool. We've got a bunch of unicyclists in this park as well. It's like 10 unicycles over there. So yes, gentlemen, things ought to be in order the way that you see things fit. If they're not, something's out of order, it's not to your liking, then I think it's your responsibility, gentlemen. It's my understanding that responsibility lies on you to communicate that. Now, communicate it, again, in a loving way. That makes all the difference with these women, because then when they feel like you are being aggressive towards them or you're upset with them, best thing to do, gentlemen, if you get triggered, just don't say anything until there's a little bit of calmness within yourself, essentially, so that when you are communicating, you can come from a loving place and you're not just reacting and coming from a triggered place, right, where you're bothered, right? Coming from a place of centeredness always, gentlemen, when communicating. Sometimes better not to say anything at all unless you can come from a place of love or centeredness. So that's my opinion, gentlemen, on setting boundaries with women, that it's your responsibility to do so, and that boundaries are a good thing. And the thing is, gentlemen, is that modern feminism is teaching these women that there ought to be no boundaries whatsoever. And yes, that has some truth to it. Every person does have the right to be who they are, have their own freedom, etc., etc. However, sacrifices are necessary when creating a family and creating something long term. It's both the male and the female that have to give up something, right, in order to have that harmony between the two. Another thing, gentlemen, just I'll add in here on this video, and that is, be sure you spend enough time away from your significant other, your girl, right? Be sure you spend enough time away from her, because that will help to keep the frame and keep the respect that she has for you. If you're around her too much, then it's going to be harder for her to hear you, right? She's going to want to please you more if she doesn't see you all the time, right? Because she's going to want to keep you around. All right, gentlemen. Hope that helps. I hope that that makes sense. If you gentlemen want to listen to some commentary on this, setting boundaries and having a harmonious relationship, a family, then Elliot Holst has been doing some really good videos recently where he got a lot of insight. And one thing I'll leave you with is this. You submitting before God as a man, that is what gives you the authority over your partner, right? Because if you're living in a non-respectable way yourself, you're not submitted before God, then you don't really have the same authority that you can command when you are a man that's living righteously. All right? I hope that helps. I love you guys. Stay sharp. And in the beginning of relationships, you don't have, I want to say this as well, in the beginning of relationships, you don't have the power to do this to the same degree, because as we know, we can push women away so easily, right? So that, this is a very, very very, very tricky subject, because just by sheer statistics, especially in the Western world, you're not going to find a woman that's already chaste to the degree that you're going to want, or a woman that's already dressing in a way that you want. On average, you just won't find them, right? So you're going to have to make the girl into the girl that you want. You're going to have to educate her and cultivate her to basically taking on the characteristics that you want to see come forth in the relationship, gentlemen. Does that make sense? All right, leave a comment, comment, subscribe, and share the video if you do feel so inclined, if you feel that it's worthy of such. But gentlemen, please do subscribe. I'm trying to grow this channel to 1,000 subscribers ASAP, so that when I take off here in 3 weeks and go either to Vietnam, Thailand, or Bali, where should I go first, guys? Or should it be Malaysia? Where shall I go? Shall I go to Malaysia, Thailand, Vietnam, or Bali first? Let me know in the comments, gentlemen. We'll be traveling Southeast Asia and then most likely heading back to Hawaii. But I want to share with you, the intricacies of getting on the plane, flying, all that stuff, and then, these various cultures, right? So I'd love to share it with you. All right, gentlemen, God bless. Catch you again. Stay sharp. Do those things that are hard. Stay disciplined. And stay after it, gentlemen. Stay after it. Keep your peace first. A contentious woman, gentlemen, is not worth arguing with. Do not argue. Say less. Keep your peace. Take your space if necessary. All right? All right. I love you guys. God bless. Catch you again. Peace.